ไซโคลนโมคาที่ขึ้นฝั่งที่เมียนมาไม่กี่วันที่ผ่านมานะคะแม้ว่าความเสียหายจะอยู่ยังไม่รุนแรงเมื่อครั้งไซโคลนากิสถล่มเมื่อ15 ปีก่อนแต่ก็มีแนวโน้มว่ายอดผู้เสียชีวิตนั้นจะสูงขึ้นเรื่อยๆติดตามจาก Asean Connect กับคุณทิวริปนาคสมภพเราค่ะ
อาเซียนคอนเนควันนี้นะคะคุณผู้ชมเราจะต่อสายตรงไปพูดคุยกับผู้สื่อข่าวในนครย่างกุ้งประเทศเมียนมาค่ะจะมาเล่าให้เราฟังว่าสถานการณ์ม็อกค่าตอนนี้นะคะที่เมียนมาเป็นอย่างไรบ้างแล้วย่างกุ้งมีได้รับผลกระทบอะไรบ้างหรือเปล่าค่ะ How are you?
I'm doing okay considering a big storm just passed by. So yeah.
How far is it approximately of where you are from the main area that got affected by Mocha?
How far it is actually the amount of damage that people were expecting, right? Like for example, the very big one was back a while ago, at least 10 years ago. It was called Cyclone Nagis, and when that happened, a lot of younger was actually affected. And this time around, the cyclone radius we are still at the considered to be outskirts, but the main radius, the main area, which is the Rakhine State, okay, which is the most affected, which is there at the coastline, right? At the coastline of the thing, and which is reaching all the way to Bangladesh. We are actually fairly near this time around, like even more near so than the previous time a big cyclone like came through here. Fortunately for the people in Yangon at least, the damages are pretty minimal. The winds weren't that strong. Some trees fell down, and some of the pools fell down, and some parts got flooded. But it's nothing major to actually talk about. It's not like the last time where it was, But of course, obviously, the most hard-hit places were, like I said, the Rakhine State, right? Like township like Siptwe and all that. It's reported to have the most damages during the storm.
And we heard in the wire service, international news agency, there's caused quite a number of deaths in Rakhine State, right?
I think they have reported at least 60, and the number will eventually climb for sure.
So how can the media or all these NGO knows for sure how big is the damage in that state though? Are the media or any of these organizations allowed to be in Rakhine State?
When the coup happened, a lot of the NGOs left, and some of them were actually forced to leave in terms of not extending the visa of the people that's working there, right? But some actually still do remain. So for example, like major organizations like UNICEF and all that, right? They will still remain. They still remain here in this place. So I have to actually also say that one caveat is that whenever a storm happens, and especially in a third world country like Myanmar, in the rural areas, there's not a lot of protections, and the infrastructures are already weak as it is, right? So when the storm came through Rakhine, Siptwe Township is one of the biggest and most developed there, I would say. And all of the telephone poles and all of the wiring cable, everything got cut. So they do not have power until now. They still have very limited access to the internet and telephone lines. So there's only like a few pocket of places that they can somehow manage to have like a one bar of connection. So it is very hard to actually still communicate clearly the accurate amount of damages that has occurred and the deaths that occurred. Like the international organizations and then some local media and some NGOs, they actually have people on the ground. So reportedly, the people on the ground reported it. So obviously the NGOs and whatever that has been helping out at the Rohingya refugee camps, they will be able to tell immediately how many people have died and how much damages was done, right? So there is suddenly a disconnect, I would say, from the official government report and what the international media is reporting, and also what the local media is reporting.
Okay, so what number we should really consider?
It's still very hard to say now. International media have something like Reuters, AP, they will report that it's still around 60 something, right? But local media have actually confirmed, some local media have confirmed that it is around 30 plus 40, something like that, deaths. But with the caveat that, more deaths will be discovered as time goes on, which was the same back back when it was in cyclone Nagis time. It was like quite a few years ago. The difference is that we won't have to wait as long because back then in cyclone Nagis, right, there some villages, very remote villages, right. Back then they did not have enough ample warning, so they did not have enough access to internet and everything, right. So when the cyclone ripped through them, they were still living in their houses and everything.
You're saying this about Nagis, right? Does that mean this time there is some kind of warning system of what might happen? Or it's more like just news about it?
It's just general access to news about it, I would say, because back then there was no Facebook. I mean, in Myanmar, the main form of internet for a lot of people is Facebook. So they use social media a lot. So right now, we have a lot of people reporting in. The danger of cyclone Mocha, that initially it was reported by like these, how should I even call them? These personalities that report on like weathers and all those events, right? So the news actually came first from them first, and then those people that are weary of dying, they will remove, they will evacuate themselves earlier. But what happened is that the official warning came out, and it suggests that people to evacuate their places. So immediately after the cyclone, the worst of it had passed. Rescue teams went out, which are mainly, I would say, like volunteer groups to rescue those that are trapped in their homes, basically. So due to the influence of the penetration and the accessibility of the internet, I would say that this time around, thankfully, there won't be a lot of casualties as much as Cyclone Nagis did.
Okay. Thank you very much for the story today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Bye. เอาละค่ะและนั่นก็คือสถานการณ์ล่าสุดในเมียนมานะคะกับผลกระทบที่เกิดขึ้นจากไซโคลนหมอกค่าค่ะนั่นคือทั้งหมดในอาเซียนคอนเนควันนี้ค่ะ